Okay, so now we're going to look at how to compare decimals using inequalities, greater than, less than, or equal to. So I have some sets of decimals already set up right here. So let's start with this first set. We have 5/10 compared to 6/10. Okay, they both have 0 as a whole. Now we can just compare the tenths since they're both in tenths. So 5/10 compared to 6/10. We know that 6/10 is larger. So we would say 5/10 is less than 6/10. Let's try one of the hundredths. We have 54 hundredths compared to 42 hundredths. Okay, they're both in the hundredths, so we're ready to compare. They both have 0 as the whole. 54 hundredths has 5/10. 42 hundredths has 4/10. Now, 5/10 is larger than 4/10, so that would mean that 54 hundredths is greater than 42 hundredths. This next set, we have 1 and 22 hundredths compared to 1 and 24 hundredths. They're both in the hundredths, so we're ready to compare. So we're going to start all at the left, so let's look at the whole. These both have 1 whole. Okay, that's equal. Let's move to the next place value. 2/10 compared to 2/10. Still equal. Let's move to the hundredths. 2 hundredths compared to 4 hundredths. Well, we know that 4 hundredths is larger. So we would say 1 and 22 hundredths is less than 1 and 24 hundredths. Okay. Let's do a couple more. Let's try. I'm going to put a handful of ones up here. Let's do 23 hundredths compared to 21 hundredths. Right? We're first going to look. Both of them are to the hundredths, so we're ready to compare. 23 hundredths compared to 21 hundredths. We know that 23 hundredths is greater than 21 hundredths. Now, what about something like this? 6/10 and 55 hundredths. This is in the tenths. This is in the hundredths. A great thing to do when comparing decimals is to make them in the same place value. So I would change my 6/10. If I add a 0 here, I'm not changing its value. I'm just renaming 6/10 as 60 hundredths. So now I can compare 60 hundredths to 55 hundredths. And from here, I should be able to know that 60 hundredths is greater than 55 hundredths. How about this one? 1 and 9/10 compared to 1 and 90 hundredths. This is in the hundredths. This is in the tenths. They both have 1 whole. They both have 9 in their tenths. But what can I change 9/10 into? 90 hundredths. So now we're ready to compare, and we find that 1 and 9/10 is equal to 1 and 90 hundredths. All right, I'm going to put one more question up. I want you to do this one along with me. I'm going to write down 3 numbers. I want you to write them down and try it on your own. 3 and 65 hundredths. 3 and 8/10. And let's add in, there we go, 3 wholes. So I have 3 numbers to compare. But what I want you to look at is we have 3 and 65 hundredths, 3 and 8/10, and 3 wholes. Let's stack these so that we can compare and make all the decimals into hundredths. So 3 and, I'm going to line up my tenths here, 3 and 8/10. But 8/10 I can rewrite as 80 hundredths. And how about 3 wholes? 3 and 3 wholes, I could say 3 and, can't I just do zeros right there? And so now I have my 3 decimals written like this. I should be able to compare just with place value. So I first start with the whole. We're going to start all the way on the left. They all have 3 wholes. So that's the same. So let's move over one. If we were to look at the tenths, 6 tenths, 8 tenths, 0 tenths. Well, 8 tenths is largest. So that means our 3 and 80 hundredths is our largest decimal. Okay, I'm going to cross that one out since we used it. So now I have 3 and 65 hundredths and 3 wholes. So again, let's continue looking in the tenths. 6 tenths or 0 tenths. 6 tenths. So next in our line could be 3 and 65 hundredths, followed by 3 wholes. So you can compare using inequalities, and we can also compare to order from greatest to least. Okay, so now it's time to go practice comparing decimals and ordering.